What's up everyone, welcome back to more Reddit stories about crazy people, Karens, and all that kind of stuff. So make sure to subscribe for more Reddit content and let's get into today's stories. Guy brought his dog to the vet for the most ridiculous reason. I'm a vet tech and this happened a few years back. So I'm in the front lobby at my animal hospital helping my staff scan some anesthesia monitoring charts. And this older man comes in with a sweet but hyper Australian cattle dog. Initial glance over tells me this guy is pissed and looking for a fight. "I need to see a vet," he said. We take walk-ins as we are able, so one of our receptionists asks what is going on with the dog. "I think she's gay and I need a test done." Our lobby goes dead silent, with both staff and clients alike looking at each other like, what is going on right now? I usher the guy into an exam room, as his indoor voice was non-existent, and I could already tell that this was going to go downhill quickly. I walk back to our treatment area to alert the rest of the staff to what was going on, and my doctors literally draw straws to see who was going to have to deal with this fool. The losing DVM and myself walk into the exam room, and the man is upon us immediately. He's losing his crap because he took his female dog to the park, and she humped another female dog that she was playing with. He told us that his dog was purebred and that he was going to sue the breeder if she ended up being gay. So he needed us to test for gayness. My DVM takes a deep breath and explains that female dogs can exhibit this type of behavior with other females, or even males, toys, furniture, etc. It did not signify any sort of gayness, and was in no way harmful. She also told him that there wasn't really a medical test we could run for gayness. The guy turns a lovely shade of eggplant and starts yelling at the both of us about how we were part of the liberal agenda and that he knew his rights, and demanded a referral to a specialist that could run the test he was asking for. I even went back to treatment to grab our lab test book so he could see all the tests we had the capability to run, and to show him that what he was asking for simply did not exist. This was also insufficient. My DVM offered a physical exam with/without a basic blood panel, just to make sure the dog didn't have any, actual problems. He declines all these things and asks to speak to a male DVM. We're fully fed up with this crap, but go grab a male veterinarian to quickly come and tell this idiot the same thing we did. The male doctor was naturally also accused of being part of the liberal agenda. By this time, our practice manager has gotten wind of the f***ery afoot and steps into the exam room to ask the man to leave. He waddles back out into the lobby, screeching that he's not paying a dime and will sue us if we charge him. Practice manager tells him that we hadn't been allowed to even touch his dog, so we had nothing to charge him for. As he walks out the door, he tells a few longtime regulars in the lobby that we're gonna kill their pets and they should leave now. One of the ladies audibly laughed at him, which was amazing. Thankfully, never heard anything from that clown again. Never witnessed anything so ridiculous in my 20+ years in medicine. Friend was not allowed to board the flight. The rest of us still went on the vacation. Now she wants us to pay her back. Me and 3 friends planned a vacation to Hawaii. We booked the flight, hotel, and car together for a discount, and then split the costs 4 ways, so we each paid roughly $800. We also booked a couple things to do there, totaling around $250. The day of the flight, we all arrive at the airport and start going through TSA. One of my friends, I'll call her Sarah, got stopped because she had a weed pen in her bag. She says she just forgot it was in there and didn't intentionally bring it, but it doesn't really matter either way. TSA ended up calling airport PD, and Sarah was not allowed to board the flight. Weed is not legal in our state. She wasn't arrested, but she was given a ticket and a court date, and not allowed through security. Obviously, the rest of us still got on the plane because we're looking forward to our vacation. Now we're back, and Sarah is mad at all of us for going, and wants us to pay her back for her portion of things since she couldn't go. But I don't think we should have to. It's not our fault she wasn't allowed to fly, and I didn't budget for paying her half as well. She's also mad because the airport is 1 hour from our home city, and we didn't give her the keys to the car, so she had to pay for an Uber home. We didn't say she couldn't have the keys, it's just that no one thought to give her the keys to Matt's car when it was all going down. One of my friends says we should just pay her to keep the peace, but I don't think we should have to. Matt also thinks we shouldn't have to pay her. If we split her costs, it would be about $350 each. I could technically afford it, but I'm working on paying off my credit card, and that's about the same amount I put toward the credit card each month. So it would put me a month behind on my plan to pay off my last credit card. I was a little irresponsible in my early 20s. I can't even think of any conceivable way why you guys needing to pay her back would make any sense. So you all booked stuff and had things paid for in advance, and she wasn't able to go through her own careless mistake. So I just don't understand where in that equation would that mean you and your friends owe her something. So in that sense, I don't think paying her back is the right phrase to use. She's obviously just upset that her money went to waste, so she's trying to make other people responsible for it. Entitled woman who thought she owned the park. Justice served. So this happened a few months ago and I still think about it. It was one of those rare moments when the universe actually balances out a situation perfectly. I live near a park where a lot of people from the neighborhood go to relax, walk their dogs, or just hang out. There's also this homeless guy, I'll call him Tim, who's been living near the park for a while. Tim's actually a pretty nice guy. He doesn't bother anyone, always picks up after himself, and even helps clean the park sometimes. He's got a little spot with a bench and some blankets, and that's where he stays. People in the community sometimes bring him food or coffee, and he never asks for anything. Well, one day I was out walking my dog and I saw this woman, classic Karen vibes, marching over to where Tim was sitting, minding his own business. She had one of those expensive yoga mats under her arm, and a tiny dog on a leash. You could just tell she was looking for a reason to cause trouble. She stops in front of Tim and starts berating him about how he shouldn't be in her park, that he was ruining the view, and how he needed to get a job and stop being lazy. She was loud, rude, and drawing attention, but Tim just sat there calmly explaining that he wasn't hurting anyone and had every right to be in the park like anyone else. She, of course, wasn't having it. She threatened to call the cops and have him removed for trespassing even though it's a public park. A small crowd started forming because she was causing such a scene. A couple of us tried to step in, but she wasn't listening to anyone. She eventually pulled out her phone and called the cops, making it sound like Tim was some kind of dangerous vagrant harassing her, which was a total lie. Here's where it gets good. The cops arrive and this woman puts on her best victim performance, saying how she feels threatened and unsafe with Tim around. Tim stays totally calm and tells the cops exactly what happened, but it's clear the woman expects them to side with her. But the cops don't. Turns out one of the officers knew Tim. The cop says, "Oh hey Tim, how's it going?" They talk for a minute and it's clear this officer knows Tim isn't some dangerous guy, just a homeless man down on his luck who's never caused trouble. The cop then turns to the woman and says, "Ma'am, this is a public park. Tim has every right to be here, just like you do." Her face completely changes. She starts sputtering, saying how it's unacceptable that people like him are allowed in places like this. She keeps pushing, asking if the officer can do something to remove him. The cop's response? "Ma'am, if you keep causing a disturbance, you will be the one removed from the park." Boom. You could hear a pin drop. The crowd was loving it at this point. The woman huffed and puffed, grabbed her dog, and stomped away, clearly embarrassed that her entitled attitude had backfired. After she left, some people in the park came over and gave Tim some food and drinks, just to show support. The cop hung out for a bit to make sure everything was okay and chatted with Tim like they were old friends. It was such a satisfying moment seeing this entitled woman get shut down, and realizing that just because you're loud and obnoxious doesn't mean you're in the right. Tim's still there at the park, and now it seems like people look out for him even more. Justice served. My ex wanted to have an open relationship, was shocked when I found a new girlfriend. My ex Gina and I were dating for about 5 years. She said that she loved me but that she wanted to open our relationship and experience more life. I really didn't want that. I told her that wasn't my thing. She persisted and I eventually agreed because I didn't want to lose her. I am not an extroverted person and I really didn't want anyone else, so I mostly just went on with my life. 6 months ago I met Helen through my work. She was really interesting. We have similar hobbies and tastes in pop culture. We started hanging out. She knew about my relationship, so we were just friends. Until we weren't. It wasn't sexual, it was weird. A guy asked her out and she said no. Then she called me and said that I was the closest thing to a perfect boyfriend for her other than my girlfriend. She said she was too into me and she had turned down a date because it felt like she was cheating on me. I thought about it and asked her if she thought we would be a good couple. She said absolutely, but that she wasn't going to be responsible for me leaving my ex. I told her to give me a month. I broke up with my ex that night. I packed up and moved out since it was her lease. I gave her money to cover my half of the bills until February. I talked to Helen and we kept hanging out as friends. Then I asked her out on a proper date. She said yes and stipulated that she was a one-man woman. She would never want an open relationship. That is what I want. Gina found out that I basically dumped her to be with someone else, and she is pissed that I developed feelings for someone else while I was with her. She said that was not what I was supposed to do in an open relationship. She is also upset because she can't really afford her apartment by herself. I told her that I didn't want an open relationship, but she insisted. I don't think I did anything wrong. Yeah, the situation with OP's ex was really not set up for success to begin with, given that OP wasn't actually okay with the open relationship, but decided to do it anyway instead of breaking up, which after being with someone for 5 years is probably going to be a pretty tough decision. And changing the relationship dynamic like that in such a way when one person isn't okay with it usually is not going to work out very well. But when you do have an open relationship and you're allowed to get involved with other people, one thing you can't control is whether or not you develop feelings for someone else. And I guess in that sense, it kind of worked out for OP, because it sounds like they're a better match anyway. Demanding that my niece or her parents pay me back for the hundreds of dollars of perfume she stole from me. I have a perfume collection that I started when I was a teenager slinging burritos as my first job. I have over 400 bottles at this point. I take great pride in my collection and I use it. I'm also happy to give people decants, samples of most of my bottles, let them sample a spray or two, give them some bottles as gifts, etc. What I have a huge effing issue with is my 17-year-old niece coming into my home under the guise of walking my dog, decanting the bottles on her own and selling the samples to her little friends. She thinks that because I have so many bottles, I wouldn't notice some missing or getting massive dents in them. Well, Little Miss Entrepreneur failed to realize that her private Instagram wasn't friends only or whatever, and I saw each and every effing story with each price and sample she had. I tallied that crap up and got a good estimate based on cost per ounce. Thankfully, she mostly picked the TikTok famous perfumes and didn't go for the most rare niche perfumes. She did snatch an entire 2.5 ounce bottle of Baccarat Rouge though, which runs $300+ at most retailers, as well as full bottles of perfumes you can get at Sephora. Petty or not, I printed out the entire list of what she'd taken, price estimate, and handed it off to my sister, her mom. I said that I expect to be paid back in full. And of course, her effing sneaky little ass is never allowed in my home again. My sister got super pissy with me, going on about how my niece is just a kid, kids make mistakes, etc. I said yes, kids make mistakes, and this is a great way for my niece to learn from hers. Their argument is that now the money she was going to use for a car has to go towards paying me back. I don't care. She is lucky that I have no interest in involving the police, small claims, or any of that. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching, I appreciate it. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like and hit that subscribe button as well for more Reddit stories. So I'm out of here, take care, and I'll see you next time.